How to pass a written exam. Here and today I want to talk about how to pass a written exam. When you are not fully ready or have some sort of exam anxiety or have tried a few times but were not successful. As a disclaimer, my assumption is that in this training is that you have already studied the lessons and know the topics, but for whatever reason you have trouble passing the exam. This training is not a replacement for studying these lessons and practicing whatever you are studying, your subject. The first thing is exam anxiety. Exam anxiety is something that rooted in our past and is mainly related to the fear of being punished or a lack of self-confidence and possibly a kind of conditioning that's happened before in our life. There is something in our subconscious mind that has been punished before for making mistakes. Essentially, we are afraid of making mistakes for whatever reason in the past, whether it's being judged or criticized by others. These experiences happen in the past and now they are stored in our subconscious mind. Whenever we are in a situation where there is a chance of failure or being judged, the subconscious mind will try its best to avoid the situation by creating anxiety, avoidance, stress, or anything that could prevent us from facing the stressful situation. But the test is test, and you have to pass the test to move to the next step in life. Our subconscious mind might not like it, but we have to do the best. We have to pass the test, and we have to pass the test to go to the next step in the life. Sorry, subconscious mind, we have to do the test. Obviously, there is no medical tablet or magic trick that magically eliminate all exam anxiety. Here are a few tips and tricks that can help you eliminate test anxiety. The first one is to face it. Take the exam, possibly for the first time, and say to yourself, I don't care about the outcome. I just want to do it. Whatever comes, it's fine. Imagine you've lost the money you paid for the exam as a loss and just do it without any expectation from this exam. Maybe your only expectation for the first try or first few tries is to see and feel the exam rooms. The next easy one is to take 3 deep breaths. Practice it. When you think you are stressed out, do it 3 deep breath. Also, when you are in the exam room, think of the worst case scenario. You may fail. It's not the best scenario, but say to yourself, okay, next. The ultimate cure and remedy for exam anxiety is to participate in the exam. Doing practice tests as much as possible definitely reduce your exam anxiety. The moment you see that you know the answers to questions, or at least some of them, your subconscious mind will relax and the test anxiety will go away mostly. So do practice this as many times as possible. The other one is the feeling of not knowing anything. This is a feeling rather the reality that happens when you are in the exam room. When you are there, all of a sudden your mind goes blank and you think you cannot remember anything. This happens when you put too much pressure on your mind the night before the exam, like bad sleep or overwhelm your mind with the day or the night before the exam. The way information is processed and stored in our mind is interesting. If there is too much information and mixed information, our mind becomes confused and don't store those information in the right place in our mind. My absolute recommendation is to stop reading and thinking about the exam and material related to the exam the day and specifically the night before the exam. Your mind is like a room that, as you read and especially during sleep, organize each piece of information in the right location and save it there. So don't clutter your mind and mess or confuse your mind by pushing too much information at once, especially under stress. If you are stressed, don't read, don't practice, and don't do anything related to the study for the exam. You don't want information and stress all saved in the same location and mixed together in your mind. So read and practice when you are relaxed. Otherwise, do something else other than reading and practicing for the exam and for the test. There is something that is called brain fatigue. Brain and mind fatigue is very, very real and it's happened quickly. Our brain has limited capacity and quota for each day. If you use up your mental quota in the morning, then your brain is out of capacity for any mental action, including studying for the exam, or even worse, doing the exam and test the same day. You've probably noticed that after a very stressful situation and a very busy day, even though you haven't done much physical work, you feel tired and your threshold for stress is much lower. So reduce situations that consume your mental energy. One of the biggest drain on mental energy is cell phone and checking social media. Constantly checking messages, likes, and notification drains your mental energy, leaving your brain too tired and fatigued to accept any new information for the test. The worst is when you study a lot and then with stress and constant checking social media and phone, you miss up all those information that's supposed to be organized in your mind. Do yourself a favor. When you are studying for your exam, limit your time on social media to a very minimum, and do it only when you are not using your brain to study. Specifically, you can do it ideally on late evening. If you really want to pass the exam, stop checking your phone every other minute, and also avoid checking your phone first things in the morning or right before going to the bed. Believe me, the world can run without you for a few hours if you can focus on passing your exam. Constantly being on the phone and checking your social media and other things is an addiction and a destructive habit. I'm not telling you to quit entirely, that's up to you. But to pass the exam, especially if you have a test anxiety or a bad experience in the past, it is essential to control your phone attachment and social media use. And here is a big lesson. Learn this big and vital lesson. The best break from mental or brain works like studying for exam is physical activity like walking, going to gym, dancing, doing any other physical activity. And conversely, the best break from physical activity like hiking is sitting and doing brain work like readings or watching video or movie or checking your message on social media and so on. There is no way you can relax your mind from one mental task by doing another mental task. If you're studying and need a break, go out, go to gym, walk, cook, do something, but don't check your phone or social media. There is another thing which is called residual attention, which means that when your brain is involved with something, it doesn't disappear. Those things doesn't disappear from your mind right away when you stop it. For example, if you were just on your phone and testing social media and then switch to studying or taking an exam, those images and thoughts will linger in your mind and limit your mind's full capacity. How do you fix it? Stop filling your mind with unnecessary or damaging information right before studying, taking a test, or doing anything important. Be aware of leftover attention from just checking your message or social media or phone. Go walk, talk to your mom, call your friend, or do anything, but not any other mental work. During the night, your brain is fully active, reviewing the information from the day and organize them and save them into your mind. The pieces of information, the brain review again and rewind again is something that we call them dreaming. Seeing dream at night is the action of the mind. That mind is actively and the brain is actively reviewing and reminding your day and past experience, placing each piece of information in its right location inside the brain. If you don't get good sleep, or if your sleep is interrupted, your brain operates at a half or less than a half of its capacity. There is another thing that I want to talk about, which is called blue light. Blue light comes from computer screens and cell phone and all screens. These lights disrupt and confuse the circadian rhythm of the brain, which means that the brain can tell if it is day or not, confuses the brain from the day and night, preventing the brain from relaxing and organizing the information and put the information in the right location and right place inside the mind. Those information, when gets into the mind, into the right place, the process, eventually we call them learning. So the learning is getting information processed by the mind and then stored in the right location. When that's happened correctly, we call them learning. So when you study for your exam, make sure to get enough sleeps and avoid using blue lights at least 90 minutes to 2 hours before going to the bed. at least for the period you are preparing and you are studying for your exam. Blue light also is getting a lot of attention for skin health and also for the eyes strain and fatigue. If you check online or you're nearby Best Buy, you will see there are eyeglasses, screens, and many other things that promises to block blue light. So it is serious. The next thing that I want to talk about is the test structure and exam instruction, specifically for beauty, esto, hair, nail, and other related or even unrelated field. In many of these exams, there is usually a bank of questions that the computer randomly choose a set of those questions. For example, there might be a bank of 800 questions organized into 8 sets of questions. The computer picks one of those sets and presents it to you, plus 10 extra questions that are not graded. Yes, that is right. You will grade it for only 100 questions. That's for STO, and I'm sure for other questions and other program is the same. But there is an extra 10 question you won't be graded on at all. The computer doesn't generate questions and doesn't randomly mix and match those questions. Designing and organizing questions is too complex, and as far as I know, computers cannot randomly make or pick questions, at least not now. Each set of questions must have a certain percentage of each topic. For example, X% chemistry, Y% electricity, and Z% disease and disorder, and so on. But those extra questions can be anything, and that's where some candidates get confused. I've seen many candidates said most of their questions were from chemistry or from disease and disorder. Logically and technically, that is not true because each set must follow certain rules, and they have to have those rules. It is likely those 10 extra questions that are not graded were from chemistry or disease and disorder, giving the illusion that most of your questions were from chemistry or disease and disorder. Honestly, those 10 extra questions cause more confusion and they don't help. Those 10 extra questions is from the ESTO program, and I'm not sure about the other programs and other states, but possibly they all have some extra questions that is not graded. And taking those tests and exam from the exam rooms out and distribute it is illegal. And possibly they don't like and is not permitted to even remember the test and exams and then come and share it with others. However, people do it anyway, and you can find some of those questions circulating online here and there. That is why the examiners keep renewing questions regularly. But what they usually do is reward the same questions. They cannot and do not invent entirely new questions all the time. The topic remains the same, the number of questions is the same, and the question design is similar. Many question designers follow a rules. For example, 50% very easy questions, so everyone can answer it. 25% for those who study and know the topics, and 25% for those who want to be the best. However, let me tell you a secret. Nobody asks you for exam score once you have your license. And as long as you pass the exam, that's enough. It is wonderful if you get a top grade or a top score, but it doesn't usually have a huge impact on your professional or personal life. Let's talk about some key reminder. When studying for exam, don't answer phone calls or read messages or open your social media. The brain has different layers. Let the brain works on its own. It does its own the best. Information goes into long-term memory at night, so sleep is very important. When you are studying, read out loud so you can hear your voice. In this format, your brain gets information from different sources, both from eyes and from ears. And then the other one is you don't need to answer all questions. Usually 75% is all you need to pass the exam. And the other thing is arrive at the exam center a little earlier. Sit in the nearby coffee shop or wait in the exam center and talk to others if it is allowed. Be familiar with the environment, with the people, and talk to the people. It reduces your anxiety and it reduces your exam and test anxiety. The other thing is on the night before the exam, have a very light dinner and don't read at all about the exam. Everything is already in your mind, and by reading more, you risk mixing things up in your brain. Another thing is a board exam is not solely from one textbook, and there is no point is reading every textbook. The exam is based on topic and subjects, not on a single or different textbook. For example, a certain number of questions from chemistry and another number of questions from disease and disorder or other subjects. And the key and the golden point if practicing for exam is preparing for exam is to keep practicing question. Forget about reading the textbooks unless you feel you absolutely must and need it. Otherwise, keep practicing questions. Get a set of questions and try them over and over until you can answer all the questions correctly without any errors. Then move to the next set of questions. Remember, the written exam is not about testing your knowledge. It's testing whether you remember the information. That's why they give you multiple choice answers. After trying several sets of questions, you will feel that you know all the questions and answers. And you know the answers. You really know them. They are in your mind. Take as many practice questions as possible and don't limit yourself to just the textbook questions or the set of questions you bought online. Do as much as you can. The questions and answers will get into your subconscious mind and your mind and subconscious mind will become familiar with the questions and with the answers. The familiarity with the test is the key to pass the written exam. Now, in the exam room, the first thing you do is to read all the questions from the start to the finish, to the very end, and answer only those questions you know. Forget about anything you don't know on the first pass. Answer only the questions that you for sure know. Then go on the second pass. When you finish this first one, go on the second pass and only read the questions that you haven't read it before and you haven't answered it before. Read the questions and their answers carefully and answer only those who you know. Forget about those that you still don't know. Also, if a question is too long or the answer is too long, leave them alone and move on to the next question. Don't spend too much time on those questions. Don't force yourself to overthink and push your brain. Just answer what you know and that's it. That's all you need. All the information is already in your mind. Let your subconscious mind do the job. Don't push too hard on your mind and yourself. And remember, there are 10 extra questions and no one knows which are those 10 extra questions. Any weird or nonsense question you see could be one of those 10 notorious questions. So don't worry. Keep going and don't get stuck on any specific question. Then when you finish the second pass or second round, go for the third and the final round. Read the question again and try to guess the answer, the best answer. The questions that you haven't answered yet. There are some tips and tricks that I will talk about that can help you choose the best even if you absolutely don't know the answer or have any idea about the question or answer. If you really panic, stress out or stuck, raise your hand and ask to go to the restroom or use restroom. Take a couple of minutes, have a glass of water, take a few deep breaths, and then come back to the exam. Make sure to read the policy of the exam center and how to use the restroom and how to come back, and if you need any documents or your ID if you want to use restroom. Here are some tips and tricks that can help you to answer some questions if you absolutely don't have any idea about questions. There is one which is called opposite answers. If two answers are exactly opposite, for example, one of them says always, the other one says never, one of them is often correct. Pick one of these. This raises your chance of being right by 50%. And there is another one. If three answers are similar or almost the same, then there is a chance the one that is not similar to those three may be the correct answer. This is guessing. So, as you may know, this is guessing. This is not absolute and may help. And the other tricks is the longest answer. If one answer is longer or more detailed, it might be the right one because test makers often add extra details to make it correct. And the other one is if the answer are numbers and you have no clue, pick the one that is in the middle, not the highest, not the lowest number, just the number in the middle. And the other one is when there is all of the above as an answer to the question. If all of the above or something similar to this is an option and you can just guess two answer is correct, then definitely all of the above is correct. The same is for none of the above. If none of the above is an option and you are sure or guess one answer is wrong, then that's probably is the correct answer. If you see words like every or often or always, usually that's not the right answer because they are too extreme. And then look for familiar words. If an answer has words or phrases and you've heard in the class on your notes, it might be the correct. Look for familiar words or phrases that's already in your subconscious mind. The other one is the grammar clue. This is cool. Make sure the answer matches the grammar of the question. For example, if the question asks for a plural answer, the correct choice should be plural. If there is no clue and you cannot guess, then try to find a pattern. Maybe the most A are right, or the B or C, or the choose B or D is answer. This is just a guess. This is just by chance. Choose one of them. This is absolutely guess, or at least give you a clue. But anyway, you have to answer those questions. There is another one, which is the positive and negative. If you see the positive and negative and you don't have any clue on answers, usually choose the positive. The positive answer usually is more correct than the negative. And sometimes the answer is a kind of rephrasing the question. Read the question and then read the answer. If the answer is kind of rephrasing the question, there is most probably that rephrasing the question is the right answer. And at the end, trust your gut and instinct. If one answer feels right, if you're not sure, just choose it. And don't forget to answer all questions and don't leave any questions unanswered. Usually there is no negative point and marking for any wrong answer. At the end, don't leave any questions unanswered. Answer all the questions randomly. Some people may choose to answer all the B. Whatever left, choose the B or the C questions, the C answers, if you can find a pattern. But don't leave any questions unanswered. Getting ready for the exam is more of a matter of training your subconscious mind as much as about learning the topics and learning. Trust your subconscious mind to do this job, and it will do it perfectly. Just read practice question, as many as possible. Don't stop and read practice question, and practice and practice and practice.